One very German trait of this car is that it loves to yell at you. One buzzer, two buzzers. It's yelling at me. It's not happy. All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2005 Smart Fortwo. Behind me is a 0.7 liter, 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, and down below is a 6-speed automated manual transmission. Now I'm super excited to be driving this here smart car for a couple of different reasons. First of all, this car used to be owned by one of my favorite YouTubers, Aging Wheels. He did a ton of videos about this car, so go check those out. But the second reason is because this is actually a gray market import here for the United States. In the United States, we have a 25-year import rule where you cannot import a vehicle from overseas unless it's older than 25 years old. Well, this car is from 2005. It's only 16 years old. So how did it get here? We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but it's very special to me to be driving something that wasn't meant for us Yankees. So let's get back to that 0.7 liter turbocharged inline 3. I'll put the horsepower and torque up on the screen. It doesn't make a whole lot. It's about like 61 horsepower, but I mean, look at this thing. It's a tiny little car. You don't really need all the horsepower in the world to get you going, and honestly, it does feel kind of spry. It feels kind of quick, a little bit. Now, unfortunately, you don't really get any turbo noises or anything like that, and from an engine standpoint, it's pretty typical of smart car. Not really a powerhouse, but enough to get you going. Now, what is interesting about the drivetrain is the automated manual transmission. So what that means is that this is an automatic transmission. You don't have to shift the gears yourself. However, it's not really fully an automatic. So there's two different modes. When you first start the car, it puts the vehicle into first gear, and you have to plus minus your way up through the gears. It doesn't do it for you. You have to hit plus, plus. Now there's no clutch pedal to be found, but you have to keep hitting plus or minusing to change gears in the transmission. But if you don't want to do that and you want to drive the vehicle like a traditional automatic, there's a button on the side of the shifter that'll do it for you. However, driving it feels very different. When my foot is flat down, in order to shift, because there is still a traditional clutch in the transmission, I'll have my foot flat on the floor and it'll actually kill my gas pedal for a second. So it'll go, pause, 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 even with my foot flat on the floor. It's a very interesting feeling and something to get used to. Here, listen. I did not move my foot at all. Did you see it sort of lurch and change? I did not move my foot at all. That's the automated manual. I'm not sure why Smart or Mercedes did this. I don't know why they didn't just use a traditional automatic transmission, but here it is, and it's something very quirky about this rather quirky car. Last but not least, the Smart Fortwo is rear-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. We have quite a bit to talk about in here. And then at the end of the video, I want to talk about the conversion and how this car got into this country. So in front of me, I have one single gauge, which is my speedometer. If you notice, it says G and K in the middle, and that's actually who imported this car into the United States. Obviously, when it was sold over in Europe, they use kilometers an hour. So they actually had to convert this to miles per hour. So G and K had to come up with their own single gauge. On the steering wheel, I don't actually have anything. However, one thing that has to do with the steering wheel is the horn, and the horn is absolutely adorable. But before we get on with the rest of the video, I want to say thank you to the people who made this video possible. First up, cashforcars.com wants to buy your car. They will buy your car with a clean title, salvage title, running, non-running, whatever it may be. You can get your free quote by clicking the link in the description below. Cashforcars.com is the easiest way to sell your car. Within a couple of clicks, they'll come pick up your car in less than 24 hours. You don't even have to leave the couch, and it's absolutely awesome. Next up, we have con plates. The con plate is a suction cup mount for your license plate when you don't want to mount it to the front of your car. If you have to legally have a front license plate like you do here in Illinois, but you don't want to stick it on the front of your car, you think it's ugly, you want to take it off for car shows, whatever it may be, you can actually just put your license plate into the suction cup holder and put it in your front windshield when driving around to remain legal. You can get your con plate in the description description below, and every sale helps out the channel, so make sure your car looks good with con plates. Last but not least, I want to talk about the fixed OBD2 sensor. Now, this is a Bluetooth sensor that you plug into your OBD2 port on your car, and it gives you a ton of cool information like your check engine lights, how to fix your check engine lights, approximately how much it should cost, maintenance intervals like oil change, tire rotation, brake pads, when you should change that stuff out. This is absolutely fantastic for anyone into cars or anyone looking to get into mechanics. Fixed is offering my viewers a discount through that link, so go check it out, and again, help support the channel. But with all of that out of the way, let's get on with the review. To the left of me, I just have a window switch, and that's it. It's this little black circle to the left of my knee. However, I only have window switches for the driver's side. The passenger side has their own switch, but I cannot control that from this side here. So I do have to reach across and use the power windows that way. However, this is a smart car, so it's not hard to do. Moving on to the dashboard is rather interesting. I do have these ball air vents, very typical of Smart to do this. A lot of smart cars have these ball air vents, but the dashboard is absolutely enormous. You could fit a meal for 8 on the space up on the dashboard. Really, really impressive space. And that's throughout the entire cabin as well. I have tons of leg room, tons of foot room, tons of shoulder room. It's very, very nice in here in terms of interior space. I like that a lot. Moving on to the center stack, we do have our hazard switch, defroster, and air conditioning controls, and then of course a giant vent with more climate controls down below that, hot or cold, and where I want it to be sent. That's about it. Very, very basic climate controls, but they work. And, you know, at least a smart car has them. Then I do have an aftermarket radio, of course, because all radios from the early 2000s have been way outdated by this point. Then I have a nice little storage area, a 12-volt cigarette lighter, and an actual spin-out ashtray, which is very nice for storage. Moving down to the center console, again, we have a couple interesting things here. First of all, we have that shifter, which, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, does not have a drive function. There's plus and minus, or the button on the side to put it into automatic. In order to turn the vehicle off, you have to put it over into reverse in order to turn the key fully off. So you can put it over into neutral and turn the key, but it won't come out of the slot. You have to put it down into reverse for that. In order to start the vehicle, you have to put it up into neutral in order to start it. But speaking of starting the car, the key is found on the center console right below the shifter, just like you'd find in a Saab. This is actually the first vehicle I've driven with the keys down in the middle, which is kind of fun. The 2005 Smart Fortwo fails the big friggin' bottle test on the basis that it has no cup holders. Now moving on to the seats. The seats are okay. They're not super comfortable, but they're more economy baseline seats. I'm not expecting quilted leather here in a smart car. However, they do have this really fun pattern. Also, the door panel has the same pattern, which is very 90s-esque, which I really, really like. I think it's just fun. And thank God we don't actually have a back seat, so I don't have to jam myself back there. But speaking of the rear end, we do have a tailgate. Yes, the smart car has opening glass and a tailgate in order to get into the trunk. Not a whole ton of room in the trunk. This is where you will find the engine, however. And I get some cargo nets and things like that, but nothing too crazy. Last thing about the interior up above me, I do have this giant skylight, which is amazing and actually doesn't compromise the safety of the vehicle because it has a roll cage built into it. The smart cars are actually pretty safe for what they are. Now with that out of the way, we gotta talk about the looks. Now, I like the look of the smart car. I think it's little, I think it's cute, and I think it's very, very iconic. When you see a smart car, you automatically know what it is. It's a smart car. There's nothing that really looks like it on the road. One thing about the exterior that I found interesting is the air intake on the side and the fact that it has a wider track in the rear than it does the front. It actually has a staggered setup, which I just thought was super cool. And it's actually kind of wide, like wide for a smart car. You know what I mean? Not that it is wide, it's just wide for a smart car. And to get even more exciting, this car was imported. So let's talk about that. Let's get my final thoughts and the importation of this vehicle out of the way. So this is what's called a gray market import, meaning it was never originally sold here. And so there is a way to import vehicles that are not legal. They have to be modified in order to become legal. So in order to make this smart car okay for American use, they had to switch out the headlights to DOT approved headlights. They had to add side markers to the side of the vehicle. They had to switch the gauge cluster, like I said, from kilometers an hour to miles an hour. And they had to do some emissions changes. Now, this was all done, like I said, by G&K, and there's actually a plaque on the side of the car telling you all of this information. And what I find very funny is that the plaque actually says, very rare, very rare. I've never had a car tell me that it was very rare. I've driven very rare cars, but not one that boasts about it with a silver plaque bolted to the side. And so, like mentioned, this car was owned by Robert from Aging Wheels, which, by the way, Robert, if you are watching this, I do have an open application to be my best friend. Please consider applying because he has a ton of really, really cool cars. Go check him out. As well as the current owner also has a YouTube channel because he also has a Yugo. So go check out Sean's account, Detroit Yugo. Both of those channels will be linked in the description below and at the end of this video. So go check out both of them. But what are my final thoughts on the smart car, the first generation of smart car? Because this is the first gen, the generation that we never got. We did get the second generation, which started in 2008, but we didn't get this. This was the forbidden smart car for quite some time. So what are my final thoughts on the first gen smart car? Well, I think it's fun to drive. I think the sizing is great. It handles really well. It'll turn around in a very tight circle. It's comfortable in here. I have tons of space. The only thing I don't really like is the transmission. It feels very wonky and would take some getting used to. Not the end of the world, but would definitely take some getting used to. But I think the coolest thing about this car is the fact that it's a gray market import and just something that was never allowed here in the US. It's super special and unlike anything I've ever reviewed before. I've reviewed Japanese imported cars, but they're all 25 years or older. This is so cool. This is why I was so excited to drive this smart car. It's just something so different and something you really don't see every day. And so with that being said, huge thank you to Sean for letting me take out his smart car. He messaged me right as this thing got registered, which is so exciting. This thing is so cool and I'm very glad that I was able to get behind the wheel of it. So huge shout out to him. Like I said, his YouTube channel will be at the end of this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.